35 Things I Learned by the Age of 35, Part 2. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kevin Burciaga, and here at The Rational Eater, I am making eating disorder recovery simple. Recently, I turned 35, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that I learned by the age of 35. I've already made Part 1 of this video, so I did the first 18, and in this video, I will do the final 17. Number 19, control what you can control before you try to control things you can't control. There's a lot of things that you can control in your life. Even if you're young and you don't have a lot of money, you can decide what time you wake up, you can decide who you're going to hang out with, you can decide your news sources, you can decide what you're going to put in your mouth, you can decide what you're going to put into your ears. If you think about it, there's a lot of things that you can control. There's a lot of things that you can't control. So if you're in business, you already know that. You don't know how your advertisement is going to go. You don't know how your campaign is going to go. I don't know how many people are going to watch this video. But one thing I can control, I can be consistent. I can make these videos. I can decide to make 1 or 2 videos a week. If things that you can't control aren't going your way, make sure you're controlling the things that you can control. 20. Iterate to success no matter where you are. Every day I'm looking for small incremental improvements. How can I improve the process? How can I make fewer errors? How can I be less forgetful? How can I be more organized? Forget the idea that you're going to completely overhaul your life. I've done this so many times. I would set this date and I would say, I'm going to change everything on that date. Now, I see time as a continuum. I'm going to make some changes today, and then tomorrow I'm going to make more changes, and I don't want to go back. So as soon as I make a change, I want to make that change permanent. But no matter where you are, even if you're young and broke, as I have been, as many of you have been, there are still small things that you can do during your day to make yourself healthier and more productive. Optimize your life no matter where you are. 21, people come and go and people change. The people I hang out with now are not the same people that I hanged out with 5, 10 years ago. People move on, people have kids, people move to different areas. That's okay. I don't think social media will ever change that. I don't think social media will ever change the importance of having proximity. You know, if you can't see people, if you can't shake hands, you can't hug them, it's just not the same. Also accept that the people in your life are going to change. You know, their goals are going to change, their values are going to change. You might become really ambitious and then they're not ambitious. Hang out with people who have similar goals and a similar mindset. 22, quit dwelling on the past, quit thinking about the past. It's done, okay? You did what you did. There are a lot of things that I wish I had done when I was 20, 22, 25, even 30 that I didn't do. Whatever, it is what it is. I didn't have that information then. I didn't know then what I know now. Things that are obvious to me now were not obvious then. It is what it is. I can't say it any better. Accept the decisions that you made, accept the decisions that you didn't make. You are where you are right now. So what are you going to do from now on? 23, sweat the details. Until recently, I was not detail oriented. I thought, whatever. As long as I do the big things right, doesn't matter. That's not true. You should sweat the details. Okay? You need to cross your T's and dot your I's. You need to make sure things are done to spec. You need to make sure that something meets minimum requirements before you submit it. Have a checklist, okay? That should be another point. Have a checklist. Make sure that you're doing all the things that you should be doing. I created so much grief and frustration in my life because I didn't pay attention to details. This was especially true when I was in grad school and there were a lot of details and I just casually ignored them. But when it came time to do a practical or take a test, those details really mattered. 24, done is better than perfect. Now I'm gonna issue a caveat here. If it's done and it meets the minimum requirements, it's often better than perfection. Spending hours and hours and hours making those incremental gains, they might help in certain contexts like Olympic sports, okay? You have to be perfect to be an Olympian, but in most cases, you don't need something to be perfect. Trying to make something perfect, especially when you don't have any feedback or data, is really just a waste of your time. This doesn't contradict what I just said, which is iterate, iterate, iterate. You should always be making things better. But this is especially true in business. You don't want to wait to launch something until you think it's perfect. You need to launch something, get feedback, and then use that feedback to make things a little better. The same is also true in school. If you can make a 90 on an exam, that's great. Should you spend hours and hours and hours and hours trying to get a 94 or 95? Maybe, probably not. 25, you can't control what you think, but you can control what you do with your thoughts. I don't know how many thoughts go through your head during the day. It's probably tens of thousands. I mean, just think about it when you're driving. How many things are going through your head at any one moment? It's a lot. But there are some thoughts that deserve more attention than others. And this is true in addiction or eating disorders, is that you give too much attention to really bad thoughts. You give too much attention to thoughts that hurt you. Taking those thoughts and setting them aside and saying, no, that's not a serious thought, I'm not going to do anything about that, that's a really valuable skill. For too many years, I took the wrong thoughts too seriously, and I took action on those thoughts. Really, all I needed to do was go delete and move on. 26, understand trade-offs. Everything is a trade-off in life. Think about the last year. Do I go to that barbecue or do I not? I mean, there was this constant trade-off between infection control and mobility. Think about medication or surgery and healthcare. I deal with this a lot because I'm in the healthcare industry. There are always trade-offs involved. Do we start this treatment or do we not? Do we get an image for this or do we not? You always have to take into account costs. So don't just look at the benefits. Also look at those benefits in relation to the costs. This is also true with disordered eating. What is the trade-off? Yeah, I could have all of that fat and sugar, I could numb out, I could escape, that's the benefit. The trade-off is I'm going to have a bad day tomorrow, I'm not going to sleep, I'm going to feel terrible, emotionally and physically. Consider trade-offs. Most of the time, it's not a question of right and wrong, it's what is the cost? 27, do hard things early. This is a hard habit to implement. But if you have a checklist, look at the 2 or 3 things that need to get done and you don't necessarily want to do. And you should do things that you don't want to do earlier in the day. And the reason why is because willpower tends to decline. You have more resolve, more dedication early in the morning. You wake up with this idea that today's going to be the day. You know, the minute you wake up, you haven't made any mistakes. You're mistake-free the first second of the day. Use that enthusiasm, use that positivity, use that momentum to get hard things done early. 28, start now, but start small. I see a lot of videos about weight loss and these people, they lose 50 pounds in 2 months or 3 months or whatever. I mean, they're making these extraordinary claims. My question is, if they needed to lose 50 pounds, why didn't they start 6 months ago? Yeah, if they had started 6 months ago, they could have lost, a pound a week and still reach their goal. If you haven't been saving, why don't you set aside $10 today? If you start small and start now, you start the habit. And then you get compound interest, which is another big point, is that small actions done repetitively over and over and over lead to long-term success. See, that's boring. I mentioned boring in the first video. Doing boring things over and over and over and getting progressively better, that is what will make you great. 29, be grateful, but never be content. I mentioned gratitude in the first part. You should be grateful for all the things that you have. You have the gift of consciousness. You have the gift of life. You didn't have to be born. What if your parents had married somebody else? You wouldn't be here. You have unbelievable technology at your disposal. We live in this awesome age of the internet and YouTube, which is another gift. You have your limbs, you have your organs. But there are probably things in your life that you could have that would increase your overall happiness or your contentment. Maybe you're not making the money you want, and because you don't have the money you want, you can't become that best version of yourself. You are denied experiences. You don't have options. So be grateful for what you have, but never be content. Because if you're content, you might stop improving. You don't want to be 20% of what you could be. You don't want to achieve just 20% of everything that you could achieve. You want to reach 100. 30, understand nuance. Most things are not black and white. Most things are not either or. Most things are not on this side or that side. And here in the States, we talk about red states, blue states. It's blue versus red. It's donkeys versus elephants. It's so obnoxious. Most things in life are not that simple. Most things require nuance. There are hard questions involved. There are trade-offs involved. There are ethical concerns. There are philosophical concerns. The problem now with so much media, especially when it comes to politics, is that it assumes that everything is binary. You're either Democrat or Republican. You're either pro-Trump or anti-Trump. These kind of binary thoughts, they shut down conversation, really good conversations. Good conversations understand nuance. 31, negative thinking will sabotage you. The thing about negative thinking is that it seems to be the default for a lot of people. It is for me. I don't know about you, but it's so easy to think negatively. It's so easy to engage in self-pity. It's so easy to fall into despair. I don't know why. Maybe our brains have a self-destruct mechanism. I don't know what it is. It's very tempting for some of us. But it doesn't help at all. There's nothing good about negative thinking. If you can think of one benefit of negative thinking, let me know. But if you have goals, if you have aspirations, negative thinking will not get you anywhere. It's okay to be upset and disappointed and frustrated. Those are normal human emotions. It means you have some attachment to your goal, which is important. But negative thinking, negative self-talk, what's the point? 32, you will always want to procrastinate, but don't procrastinate. Procrastination is very tempting. It's universal. Everybody does it. And the reason why I think we procrastinate is we're not sure we're going to succeed. We're not sure we can overcome the challenge. We're not sure that we can complete it. It comes from a lack of confidence, if you think about it. Even if it's just writing that term paper that you don't want to do, you're not sure that you can actually do it. If you were 100% sure that you could do it, you'd probably start now. But there's another reason you procrastinate, and this is going to lead me to number 33, which is learn to deal with discomfort and pain. I knew this CrossFitter back in the day. He was really big into CrossFit. In fact, I think he operated that franchise. And he said, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, I think that's really good advice. This is especially true in recovery. You have to learn to deal with the void, not having that typical experience, not having that pleasure, learning to confront emotions that you have been fleeing, learning to be alone, learning to have those thoughts in your head and not take action. If you want the fruits of fitness, you are going to have to experience discomfort. And if you're going to recover from an eating disorder or any sort of addiction, you will have to learn to be uncomfortable at some point. 34, have good habits. Habits are powerful. The more things you can automate, the more things you can do with precision, the better. Try to do the same things at the same time each day, if you can. Or maybe if it's once a week, do it at the same time each week. Your brain loves cues, it loves reminders. Oh, it's this time, it's time to do this. Oh, it's 7 o'clock, it's time to do this. For example, after my evening shower on Saturday, I clean my bathtub and I clean my bathroom. Why? I don't know. That's just my convention. It's Saturday night, time to clean the bathroom. If I never set a time, I'll never do it. Okay, so set times to do specific tasks. And finally, number 35, just because something is popular doesn't mean it's true. I see this a lot on social media. Somebody will start some trend and everybody else will start copying it and everybody else will start watching it and people will think this is true and people will think that this is like gospel or something. I see this a lot in health and fitness is bad ideas tend to spread really fast. I don't know why. The wrong people tend to get the most attention. I don't know if it's because of their looks or their demeanor or their charisma or the offer that they're making. I don't know. Okay, I'm not a psychologist, but this is how it happens. Somebody will plant an idea, it'll start to gain traction, and then more traction, and then more traction, and then everybody will assume it's true. I'm not going to be specific on this video, but if something is popular, be skeptical. Remember, I talked about skepticism in the first video. This is why it's really important to be a late adopter. Something else I talked about in the first video. Because sometimes an idea is popular, not because it's true, it's just because it's popular. So wait a little while, see if it's real or legit. A lot of times these ideas, they fizzle out. That is what I learned by the age of 35. How can the Rational Eater help you? 3 ways. Number 1, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I release new content every week. Join my email list. I send tips and advice at least 6 days a week. And when you do that, you'll be able to watch a video that I have made that is not on YouTube that explains desire de-escalation, the method that I use to stop chewing and spitting, bulimia, and binge eating. And number 3, join the community at my free Facebook group, The Rational Eating Masterclass. The links for all of those are in the box below. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them and I'll see you there. And as always, eat the way you're designed to.